Yes, you read that video title correctly. This is indeed a top 10 list of the best snow towns in JRPGs, which we are very aware is an extremely niche topic, but you know, that's kind of the point. I mean, I don't know, we just thought it'd be fun to do something a bit more random, I guess, just because you don't really see it, so figured, why not, right? Now, obviously, you can't objectively rank fictional towns, so this is purely just my opinion, but without further ado, let's dive into this shit and see what it's all about. Alright, at number 10 on our list, we have the Snow Town from Wild Arms 2, that I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce to avoid sounding like a dumbass.
M.
Two M's.
M.
That was the
No,
confusion.
there's just one M.
So yeah, as you can see, we're not really starting this list off on the strongest note, unfortunately. As much as I love this game, and I have a lot of great memories with it, by today's standards, this town in particular kinda looks like shit. And I hate to say that, but it's true. I can't let nostalgia blind me. I mean, it just looks a little bland and uninspired, and the whole floating continent of Pangea thing just doesn't look good, even if it thematically fits. It's just not the prettiest town to look at, if I'm being totally honest. Aesthetics aside though, Wild Arms 2 is a really kick-ass game. In this town, you find out some stuff about one of your party members' background story, Lilka, and there's like some cliche Magic Academy stuff, which is kind of interesting, even if it's in basically every work of fiction ever. But you know, it's there, and it's something. Now you're probably thinking, why the fuck should I watch this dude's list? It's completely nostalgia fueled. I promise it gets better. I promise. I just had to include this one because I played it a shit ton growing up, and it's just a really fun game. So yeah, let's move on to some prettier towns though. With that said, all right, at number 9 on the list we have Ketterberg from Tales of the Abyss. This is a pretty cool little town that really nails that snowy atmosphere. I feel like, you know, what with the snow falling down and everything. It adds a nice little touch. I dig it. So further adds to the wintry vibe, there's this snowball throwing machine of sorts. You know, the same thing we all used when we were kids growing up. In addition to that, there's this dude who chooses to live in an igloo, even though literally everyone else in the town lives in normal houses, which kind of makes me question the whole economic balance of the town in the first place, but that's a topic for a different day. Perhaps the most notable thing about this town, though, is that it holds your staple casino, which is basically in every JRPG ever. I mean, they're a little gimmicky and kind of boring to me, if I'm being totally honest. I usually don't fuck around with them, but I know a lot of people do, so they're there for those who want a shot at winning some weapons and armor before you're able to get them through normal gameplay. Which also means the challenge in the game isn't really built around you having those items yet, so you can get pretty overpowered relatively quickly, and that's usually why I don't fuck around with them. But regardless, they're there for people that like that. Anyway, that's probably enough about good old Ketterberg, so let's move on to the number 8 spot. Alright, at number 8, we have Emil from Golden Sun. First of all, let me just say that I am an absolute sucker for 2D sprites in this whole graphical era, so this shit looks beautiful to me. I can't lie, you know, I really dig this style. Besides how it looks though, there's also a lot of other cool stuff to like about this town. I'd say the most exciting thing by far though is you finally get your 4th party member here to round out the squad, the homegirl Mia. I remember being a kid and just being like, yo, where the fuck is this 4th person at though? I saw her on the box art, I saw her in all the marketing, I know she exists, I just want to complete my crew. Shit, is that too much to ask?
Where is she? She's still in the house?
And then boom, there she is, and life is good. This town also gives you some other cool shit to do, of course, like items to find. It's got this sliding segment on the ice that is in so many snowy parts of video games. However, it's not just to be annoying as fuck in this scenario. It actually leads to a gym, which is like Golden Sun's equivalent of stat boosting, magic spells, changing classes. I don't know. It's kind of a lot, actually. If you play the game, you know what I'm talking about. Regardless, though, it's always an exciting find, so adding one to a town is always a nice touch. Anyway, that's probably enough about this town, so let's move on to the next one. In number 7, we have the Icicle Inn from Final Fantasy VII. Now, you can talk as much shit as you want on the 3D polygons from the PlayStation Final Fantasy games. And I would agree with you, while also simultaneously arguing that it's a product of the time. Regardless though, the same cannot be said about the pre-rendered backgrounds. I mean, that shit holds up so well, and this town is no exception. I mean, more like this screen, because this town is literally just one screen, but it's a damn beautiful screen at that, and I stand by that statement. I know the snowboarding minigame isn't technically part of this town, but I mean, it's right by it, and you do get the parts for it here, so I included it anyway. Plus, it goes along with the whole snowy and wintry vibe, so sue me. Besides some plot elements that I won't go into in case you're one of the 17 people left on this planet who hasn't played this game yet, there's really not a lot to be said about this town, so let's move on to the next one. Sharing the number 6 spot, we have Flames Grace and Still Snow from Octopath Traveler. Yes, I know I'm technically cheating by including 2 towns here, but you know, they're pretty similar enough in nature. They're super atmospheric in their own way. The music is fucking beautiful, and I really couldn't decide between the two, and it's my list, so yeah, I'm gonna put them both. I guess if I really had to choose though, Flames Grace is perhaps a bit more notable, only for the fact that it's one of your character's starting towns, Ophelia, so naturally you come across it in the game first. But the music is just so good in each town that I really just couldn't pick. As you probably guessed, my 2D sprite boner is indeed going off the charts right now with how fucking beautiful these towns look as well. You know, if you grew up with that Super Nintendo era, I feel like these towns should really speak to your soul on an even more aesthetic level than the past. I guess what I'm basically getting at is the 2 reasons why these 2 towns are on this list is, yes, you guessed it, the music and the graphics. Well, I think that about covers it for these 2, so let's go on to the next one, huh? In number 5 on our list, we have Snowden from Undertale. I can already see some dude pushing up his glasses in the comment section like, well, technically, Undertale isn't a JRPG because it wasn't made in Japan. Yeah, I get that, I do, but, you know, it still follows that typical JRPG structure with going to towns, buying stuff, talking to people, battling enemies, kind of. Shit, alright, I guess it is a little different in that aspect, but it's close enough, it's my list, I felt like including it, so I'm just gonna toss that one in the fucking bucket. Anyway, Undertale is an amazing game, and this is the first town you come across, so you meet a lot of memorable characters to stay throughout the game, and I just had included for that reason. Many of you probably remember the hype around Undertale when it first came out, with like a lot of people calling it the best game ever. I honestly didn't play it till just a few years ago, and I remember playing it at first and being like, okay, this is pretty dope, I'm having a good time. I don't know if I necessarily get all the hype behind it, but then I kept on playing, got the normal ending, eventually got the perfect ending, and holy shit, that was not a game, that was an experience, that was a feeling.
That's a special feeling, Lloyd.
I know that sounds cheesy as fuck, but seriously, out of all the games I've ever played before, I've never quite played one like it. Alright, that's enough jizzing over Undertale, I think. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? Okay, at number 4, we have Sniffelheim from Dragon Quest XI. I hope I pronounced that right.
Host? Annual? Host? Annual?
I haven't played this game in a while, so I kinda forget, but I think it's right. Now, the first time you come here, it is pretty much a ghost town due to some plot stuff that I kinda won't get into, but it does liven up later, as you can see in this video. And that's kind of the town I'm talking about. I'm not really talking about when it's all Casper-like and shit. So this game has the added benefit of being on a modern console, which means it looks pretty as fuck, relatively speaking. I mean, the actual town could be kind of more, I don't know, majestic maybe, grandiose for being like a castle town, kingdom thing. I don't know, that's just nitpicking. It's still a really cool town, all in all, hence a spot on this list. I mean, there's items to find, snowmen to run through, effectively ruining these kids' days, fucking puffs to get. I mean, what is there not to like about this town? Really? So yeah, that's pretty much this town in a nutshell. Let's move on to the next one. In number 3 on our list, we have Ymir from Trails of Cold Steel 2. My beloved Trails series. I could seriously talk forever about these games, but for now, this will just be one small segment on one game in one very ever-expanding, large fucking series. Ymir sticks out so much amongst his peers because it basically serves as a hub town for a large portion of this game, meaning you go back to it constantly, so you get a chance to form a connection with the town and build relationships with the citizens. I mean this when I say it, but there is seriously no greater JRPG series out there when it comes to world building and NPC interaction. After every significant story event, the characters' dialogue is always changing, which gives you a reason to come back and talk to them, instead of ignoring them for the rest of the game after you talk to them once. Which is basically most JRPGs, if I'm being honest, but I still love the genre. Ymir is also the main character Reen's hometown, which you heard a lot about in the previous game, but you never actually saw it until now. So it's pretty cool to finally see it. This town also has the cool hot springs, which provide some good character moments, and a fun little snowboarding minigame, which is much better than the Final Fantasy VII rendition, which granted it should be coming out like 15-something years later. So yeah, that's probably about it for this town. Let's move on to the number 2 spot. In number 2, we have Yule from No Kuni. Honestly, for being a PS3 game, this game still looks better than a lot of current-gen stuff. I mean, that Studio Ghibli art style is fucking beautiful. It's just so timeless. I love it. Actual town-wise, there's not really a lot of stuff going on here besides some pretty wacky-looking characters, which are cool to look at in their own right. But it's not like a grand city, which isn't a bad thing by any means. It's just more of a humble, small village, which is kind of part of its charm, as a lot of the game before this is kind of more kingdom-based towns. I mean, not all of them, but you do get a lot of those early on, so kind of getting a more smaller vibe like this is cool. To really add to the immersion factor, this town actually gives you a different set of clothes to thematically fit the environment, which sounds like a minor detail, but not a lot of JRPGs do stuff like this. I mean, you have Tifa being like, "Dope, we're going to a snowy climate and it's 0 degrees out. Better pack my crop top and short shorts." Okay, so I've picked on FF7 a couple times recently, but like I said, this basically applies to every JRPG out there, so it's cool to finally have one that acknowledges this. As immersive and pretty as this town is, though, it couldn't quite take that top spot. So without further ado, let's see what's number 1. But first, time for some honorable mentions. Mischief Makers is definitely not a JRPG by any stretch of the definition, but I just really like the snowy vibe of the environment, so fuck it, here it is. Now, I actually really don't like Nars that much if I'm being honest, but being the first town in such an iconic game as Final Fantasy VI, here it is to make you happy. Insert generic Tales of Snowtown. Alright, with that out of the way, here's the moment you've all been waiting for. Coming in at number 1 on our list is Flanor from Tales of Symphonia. Yes, I know this is the 3rd mention of a Tales game in this video, but the series is just so good, and this game has the best Snowtown out of them all. Now, in comparison to the other 2 Tales games that I've mentioned in this video, this game did come out first, so graphically, it may not hold up quite the same, but aesthetically, it definitely does. There's just a lot to love about Flanor. I mean, to me, it perfectly gives off that wintry vibe that just makes you want to post up by the fire with a big old fucking cup of hot chocolate or something. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. It's just so cozy and so atmospheric. I don't know. I dig it. I will say nostalgia plays a large part. This game came into my life at like the perfect time, so I'll just always have great-ass memories of it. What really makes Flanor so special and memorable, though, is the character-specific bonding moment you can get based on what character you have the most affection points towards, or whatever the fuck it's called in this game. There's a lot of characters in this game, and you can only get one scene per playthrough, so it makes it pretty special, you know? I mean, not to spoil it, but what character scene you get on the rooftop can actually affect what party members stay with you for the rest of the game. I mean, what other town on this list can say that? The answer is none, and that is why Flanor is ranked at number 1 in this top 10 list of best snow towns in JRPGs. Alright, I just wanted to say thank you everyone for watching our extremely niche video. And if I missed one of your favorite towns, it's probably just because I haven't played the game, to be honest. You know, I've only played so many games out there, so if that's the case, just leave a comment below on what it is so we can check it out. On that note, we are trying a different video format out, so if you have any ideas or recommendations on top 10 lists you would like to see us cover in the future, you can leave a comment about that as well. All right, thanks again, guys and gals. This is Gaming Productions. Until next time.